Shabbat Shalom, friends. In the Blackley Jewish Cemetery in Manchester, United Kingdom, there is a memorial stone with several languages on it. The gravestone first lists an English name, General Morris Abraham Cohen. The second name on the marker is a Hebrew name, Moshe Avraham ben Yosef Lev HaKohen. The third language on the tombstone, in English characters, is a Chinese name, Ma Kun, Chinese rendering of Morris Cohen. And an additional marker at the foot of the grave reads, Ma Kun, inscribed by Sung Qingling, Vice Chairman, People's Republic of China. At the unveiling ceremony for General Morris Abraham Cohen were representatives of the People's Republic of China and Taiwan. To garner a turnout that included diplomatic and feuding representatives, honoring a man of notably humble origin with a peculiar name, raises the question, who was Morris Cohen? I want to give a thank you to my 10-year-old friend, Jomar St. Martin, with whom I've been studying for a few months for his Aleph badge for the Boy Scouts. He and his parents, Susan and Chase, committed, it's a voluntary badge, to have Jomar study with a clergy person to learn more about his religion and to ultimately receive a proud Jewish badge that will go on his sash as he works one day toward Eagle Scout. One of the requirements to get your Aleph badge with the Boy Scouts is that you do a short biography of 2 or 3 famous American Jews. General Morris Abraham Cohen was not an American Jew. He ultimately came to live in Canada, but we're considering him a North American Jew. And since I doubt anyone will audit Jomar's Aleph badge, and I'm the one who signs off on it eventually, we decided that we would allow Morris Cohen to be one of his biographies. I had not heard of Morris Cohen until 2 days ago, but as you all know, I believe God is mysterious. And when the student is ready, in this case me, the teacher, 10-year-old Jomar, appears. Morris Cohen was known colloquially as Two-Gun Cohen. Can I just ask for a show of hands, who in the room is familiar with Two-Gun Cohen? Great, Susie. Okay. Not surprised. Thanks, Susie. Okay. Our beloved Susie, who escaped Europe through China and probably know him maybe from there? Okay. After. Okay. Well, for the rest of us who are being tutored today, just ask your indulgence. It is, as Monty Python would say, something completely different. Maybe just for a moment to take our minds off of what's going on in the outside world and in here as well, in our hearts. And yet, there is a powerful connection. Okay. Morris Cohen was born to Orthodox Jewish parents who escaped pogroms and crushing poverty and emigrated from Western Poland to London when Morris was still a child. His given name was Moshe, and he went much of his life by the name Moish. At the age of 12, he was sent to a reform school for 5 years. He worked as a boxer from an early age. Apparently his first fight was when he was about 5. He fought under the names Fat Moishe and Cockney Cohen. He was a petty thief and a pickpocket And he was, among a number of other things, including at various times a carnival barker, a card sharp, a loan shark, a pimp. Guy was very colorful. And there are numerous biographies written of him. Some of them may be more fanciful than others. The truth lies somewhere in between. But he was not rehabilitated after his stint in reform school, and he was sent to work as a farmhand and to be rehabilitated through clean prairie living and hard work with a family member in Saskatchewan. He had a limited education, though apparently he could recite some Shakespeare. His English was ungrammatical and accented, and he ultimately spent many years in China, though he never learned to speak Chinese except a kind of what they refer to in his biographies as a kind of pidgin Chinese, if that's okay to say. He could speak Yiddish, and he knew enough Hebrew to recite Torah prayers as an adult, with his observant father present especially, which would bring joy to his aged father. But mostly, Moishe Cohen was a man of instinct, some of which turned out to be of really significant importance. While he was in China, prior to going to China, he was in Western Canada, and he became a good friend of the Chinese community. He supported them through tough times, including rather famously standing up for a Chinese restaurateur who was being bullied by other native-born Canadians. He was in jail many times, and standing up for a Chinese restaurant owner was pretty much unheard of in his day. He went to China after becoming friends with Chinese Canadians, and he offered himself as a full-time bodyguard to Sun Yat-sen. During World War I, Cohen served with the Canadian railway troops in Europe, where he supervised Chinese laborers and continued his connection with Chinese people. He had this strange background of having been born a Jew in Poland, an area then was part of Russia, a Brit, a Canadian, a World War I veteran, and a very burly man. In his early days in China as a bodyguard, during an attempted assassination of Sun Yat-sen, the assassin lightly wounded Cohen in his left arm while protecting Sun. Realizing that the assassin could have injured his right arm, where he had only his one gun, he decided he should train himself to be able to draw and shoot with either hand while carrying two guns. Hence the name Two-Gun Cohen. Chiang Kai-shek appointed Cohen as the de facto Minister of War from 1926 to 1928. He participated in fighting against communist and Japanese imperial forces, as well as covert missions to purchase weapons wherever he could find them around the world, very much like the Jewish underground did prior to the establishment of the State of Israel. In 1941, he was in Hong Kong protecting Sun Qingling and her sister Sun Ailing as the Japanese took control of the enclave. Sun Qingling was Mrs. Sun Yat-sen. He was able to help them escape by booking them on one of the last planes out of the British colony, but chose to stay behind. The Japanese later captured him and imprisoned him for 2 years, treating him very badly. He was released in 1943 as part of a very rare prisoner exchange and returned to Canada. At the end of the Chinese Civil War, he was one of the few foreigners able to visit the People's Republic of China and the Republic of China with ease due to his association with Sun Yat-sen. He tried to reconcile the two sides of the Civil War, but to no avail. He was the only Westerner invited to the funeral of Sun Yat-sen in 1925, and later in 1966, Cohen was the only Westerner on the podium in Beijing with Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai for the 100th anniversary celebration of Sun Yat-sen's birth. The Republic of China paid Moishe Cohen, Cockney Cohen, a pension until his death, as he had been a general in the nationalist forces, the only Jew or European to ever be a general in the Chinese army. So why is Cohen a hero for Israel? During the 1947 United Nations partition plan, 5 members of the UN Security Council needed to vote. If one of them voted no, the plan would have denied Israel our state. And at the time, Chiang Kai-shek's UN delegation was in San Francisco. It represented the China seat since the PRC was not a member of the UN. So the Israeli delegation needed to get the Republic of China's vote. Initially, they refused to meet with the Israeli delegation, and the Republic of China was planning absolutely to vote against the partition plan. The head of the delegation was General Wu Tiecheng, who had worked with Cohen in Canton, Guangzhou, and Cohen later appointed him a general. When the Israeli delegation learned that Moish Cohen, Two-Gun Cohen, knew General Wu, they asked him to intervene. According to Cohen, when Wu agreed to meet him, Cohen showed Wu a note written by Sun Yat-sen, which supported the idea of a Jewish state, and thus Moish Cohen helped convince the Republic of China delegation to abstain instead of voting no. Apparently, this event is barely known in Israel, and not much outside of it as well. In Aryeh Marinsky's book, In Light and in Secret, Mrs. Sun Yat-sen, Sun Qingling, is reported to have said the following in support of Zionism just prior to the British withdrawal from Palestine, possibly influenced by Two-Gun Cohen. The revolution you are making is blessed, and the Zionist struggle against the British would create a chain reaction against British imperialism all over the world. According to Professor Yitzhak Shihor, who authored an article on Beitar in China, the Zionist youth movement, he noted that Morris Cohen provided weapons to Beitar, as well as maps and plans on British military sites and naval ships in Shanghai and Canton in case the British failed to depart Palestine in 1948. But the British left as planned, and Cohen might have had some explaining to do as a British citizen had he been captured by the British. It is quite possible that we have Two-Gun Cohen partly to thank for the establishment of the State of Israel. Another story about him is that reportedly, when Palestinian terrorists were placing small mines near schools in northern Israel in the late 1960s, and Israeli children were severely injured when they accidentally picked them up, the story is told that China had produced those mines and supplied them to the terrorists. And Two-Gun Cohen visited Israel in 1969. After meeting with senior Israeli officials about the mines, he met with his old friend, People's Republic of China Premier Zhou Enlai, in Geneva, and convinced him to stop supplying these mines to the Palestinians. Purportedly, after that meeting, the mines disappeared. Legend or fact, we may never know. Biographies of Two-Gun Cohen take some different approaches, either romanticizing him beyond recognition, including his own autobiography, or criticizing him as uneducated and his history overblown. Regardless, he made an impact, both for the Chinese struggle and for the Israeli struggle to reemerge as a sovereign nation after 2,000 years. Help can sometimes come from unlikely sources, and extraordinary individuals whose name we may never have heard of, let alone knowing their story. Let us never give up the hope that there are among us and in our world unlikely heroes. They may have sketchy backgrounds. Maybe even because of that, they have a kind of moxie or chutzpah to do amazing things. I didn't know who Two-Gun Cohen was 48 hours ago, but I'm glad to know his name today. And though the truth may be somewhere out there, we may yet have friends in surprising places. Let us pray for it and pray that in whatever way our opportunities present themselves, that we will use them for the cause of peace and friendship. Shabbat shalom, friends.